Next, 20 years ago this month, a man who'd lived on the streets had an idea for a magazine to help London's homeless people. John Bird asked a friend to bankroll it, and so The Big Issue was born. It's since gone national and global, and the need for its work is apparently as great as ever. Well, in a moment, I'm pleased to say I'll be speaking to John. First, this report from Charlene White.
10th anniversary Big Issue.
In the last 20 years, The Big Issue has become a regular feature on our streets. It's instantly recognisable. You can barely turn a corner without seeing someone wearing those red vests, trying to earn a living and make a change in their lives. And that's why the magazine was created.
You all right, man?
House We Like was the name of it.
How many magazines today?
Bean has been selling The Big Issue for 8 years. He sells on the magazines to other vendors here near Victoria train station. And then he earns money for himself selling the magazines in Dulwich.
Cool.
He says if he didn't have this structure in his life, he could have gone down a very different path.
Hundreds of vendors have said to me, if it wasn't for The Big Issue, they'd either be in prison or dead. And it's the same for me, you know what I mean? Like...
Couple of homeless ladies buy a Big Issue.
When it was launched on the streets of London in the early 90s, it was a totally new concept here, which helped a section of British society that had essentially been forgotten. This gave them a voice and a means to help themselves.
Say you're a homeless person and an alcoholic. The only people you're ever going to talk to are your peer group. But then once you start selling The Big Issue, you get to speak to people like members of the public, like everyday people.
The Big Issue currently works with 3,000 people, selling 125,000 copies a week across the UK. The fact that the magazine continues to be so successful shows that the need is still great. Although many of us choose not to see homelessness, it doesn't mean that they aren't still struggling, especially now. So for people like Bean, it's a lifeline. It's what he hopes will become bigger and better things. Charlene White, London Tonight.
John Bird, thank you for coming in. Your one idea has helped so many people, not only in this country, but abroad, over 2 decades. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Not my idea, it comes from America, and it was brought to the United Kingdom by Gordon Roddick, who with Anita Roddick started the Body Shop. So we're a part of the Peppermint Foot Revolution. It's very, very interesting that it's a product that has helped homeless people to get out of loneliness and to have self-help. Because without self-help, the opportunity of making their own way in the world, then they don't have what you and I have, which is a future. And we were very, very clever in saying, look, this is not a handout, this is a hand up. And obviously many governments have mirrored that through the years and blessed us. We haven't got any money out of them, so we're very fortunate also in that we're not having any cuts, because we don't rely on the generosity of the taxpayer, we rely on the generosity of the reader.
It's interesting you don't give yourself any credit. If it wasn't for you, it wouldn't have happened. Are you in any way, 20 years on, disappointed that there is still a great need for it?
I think my greatest disappointment is that I got out of poverty and crime by self-help, and I was encouraged by prison officers, teachers and members of the public. So I was very blessed being given the chance. And now, 20 years later, we're still having to fight for the opportunity of getting people through self-help out of grief. The riots recently, a lot of young people who have a feckless, restless, lost life, if they had self-help, if somebody could kindle in them the opportunity of getting out, maybe getting to the college, the university and all that, then we wouldn't have that problem. So it's a bit of a tragedy that now, 20 years later, we're still having to say self-help is the most important thing. A handout will keep you down, a hand up will get you out.
And from that point of view, you've actually expanded who can sell the magazine, because it's not just people who are living on the streets now.
Well, it's not quite true. When we started 20 years ago, there were quite a number of people, middle-class people, who had lost their jobs because we were in a recession 20 years ago. And what we did, we said we'd work with the homeless, the ex-homeless, and the vulnerably accommodated, people who would lose their home. And all we've done is we said, look, we're back to some extent where we were 20 years ago, and we've just gone back to using that category, because over the last 20 years, that category faded away as they got work and they got homed and all that stuff, got more stable. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing it. We're having a big walk on the 30th of September if people want to get involved. If they go to events at bigissue.com, they will be able to participate in the revolution that we started 20 years ago.
Okay, well, good luck with the ongoing revolution. That's
Thank
the.
you very much.
We've seen the this week's copy. That's the original.
Number 1.
John Bird. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. Thank you. Well, our original report on the big issue back in 1993 is available, along with a lot more on our website. Just go to ITV.com/London. Time now to find out what